Welcome to This Just In, the show bringing you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. And now, for the fastest voice in healthcare, here's your host, Justin Barnes.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome to This Just In. I'm your host, Justin Barnes. In these segments, I'll bring you the latest advancements in healthcare, strategy, innovation, and public policy. As always, we're broadcasting from the This Just In studios on the Business Radio X network, as well as the Healthcare Now radio network. And I'm very excited, especially today, to be back in studio. This is my very first time back in studio with Stone Payton from Business Radio X. Thank you, my friend, for having me.
Oh, what a pleasure, man. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, we've obviously have not been in studio just because of what's going on with COVID-19 and coronavirus and just trying to stay safe. But thankfully, I've personally persevered very, very well. And I assume you have too as well, Stone?
We have. We've been very fortunate. And there's still so many compelling stories to share. So we're delighted to have this opportunity to do today's show.
Awesome. Excellent. And I'm excited to get to my guests and certainly hear how they're doing as well. And so, again, this is a very special episode, my 211th episode. And we have a special show focused on the recently released interim final rule for the 21st Century Cures Act and two returning guests from the Office of the National Coordinator for Health IT, Michael Lipinski and Elise Sweeney Anthony. Welcome back to the show, Michael and Elise.
Hey, Justin, how are you? Thank you for inviting us.
You got it.
Yes, happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's great to have you guys here, and I know we obviously have a lot to talk about on the legislative or regulatory front. But certainly, how are you guys doing personally? So, first, you, Elise, how are you doing with coronavirus and working remotely, or how? I would like to actually hear how you guys are doing it with the ONC.
We are holding on. You know, it's not an easy time for the entire country, and we are definitely taking it day by day and doing all that we are used to doing in terms of working for the public and working on rollout of this rule, and at the same time just working to stay safe.
Yep. Excellent. And you, Michael?
Yeah, I'm doing well too. I think, with technology, it's been a seamless transition for us. And so we've been able to, in some aspects work remotely, obviously, because we can't be in the office. But, we've been able to issue our final rule this year. And then obviously this interim final rule we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Excellent. So let's dive in. But before we go into the IFR, if you guys let's do a little bit of a level set for the Cures Act and the reason why it was initially created, the goals for the ONC, and really what it brings to public and healthcare in America. So who'd like to take that one? You, Michael, or you want to start off with that one? Or Elise?
I can start, and then I'll turn to Mike to talk a little bit more about the IFR then.
Perfect.
So the Cures Act, 21st Century Cures Act, lays out a number of components related to health IT, including around interoperability and supporting the flow of information, thinking about application programming interfaces and the role that they can play in terms of healthcare. We see APIs, application programming interfaces, in many ways across our daily lives. And healthcare is getting caught up in terms of using them as a means to support the flow of information in a secure way, and supporting also getting information in the hands of patients as well. And the rule takes a lot of what the 21st Century Cures Act has charged us to do and puts it into a regulatory format and framework. And that includes things around the certification program. So at ONC, we maintain a health IT certification program where health IT vendors can come to us to be certified for certain capabilities. And in our rule, we highlight that, and we highlight the importance of not just the technical aspects of what health IT vendors do, but also the business practices and how they can support interoperability or how they can impede interoperability. Mm-hmm. So we highlight things in terms of supporting the flow of information without special effort. We talk about communications and being able to communicate about the product that you're using, about the importance of real-world testing. And those are just some of the things on the certification program side of the house. The other side of the rule focuses on information blocking. And Congress lays out a framework for information blocking that focuses on certain actors. And I'll highlight them quickly, but this is a great place for me to plug to check out our website, healthit.gov/curesrule. And you'll find a ton of information from webinars to presentations to fact sheets on different aspects of the rule, and specifically on information blocking. So when it comes to information blocking, there are 4 actors that Congress lays out. healthcare providers, health information networks, health information exchanges, and developers of certified health IT. So in our rule, we lay out definitions as it relates to those, as well as definitions related to things like electronic health information and what that means. We also lay out a series of 8 exceptions. And those exceptions are the reasonable and necessary activities that may occur that may impede or keep the information from flowing, but for an appropriate reason. For example, maybe you're an actor, but you didn't move information because there is a law that tells you should not move that information, or there's a privacy concern or consideration, a security concern. And there's a number of other ones as well that we lay out, but those exceptions are designed to really be common sense reasons why information might not move. But the goal of the information blocking section, as you know, Justin, is really to support the flow of information, support the movement of information in the secure and appropriate way. And we lay out what that looks like across the rule and also in the materials that we have on our website. So that's what the rule overall does. And let me turn it to Mike to talk about what the most recent rule, the interim final rule, does to amplify and address some of the dates that we noted when we first released the rule in spring.
Well, before we do that, I do want to take just a quick moment, because I actually want to take just a moment here to say how much I appreciate what you guys have out there on the website. So as you just notated, the Health IT .gov/Cures Act is a great website. I've been pouring through that for the last several weeks and obviously past several years. But it really does very simply lay out, and you guys have such a consumer-friendly, and we're consumers of this information, so a consumer-friendly format where it's very easy to find, very easy to navigate, and it's also written at in a simplistic level, a very complex topic and a complex rule. But laid out very simply. So it's very easy to digest. I highly recommend people read it. And I do want to let you guys know, before we dive into the IFR specifically, the rule has made a huge difference in the marketplace. Not only am I a talking head on the radio, but also, I work with a lot of different companies. I've a lot of time invested in companies, and it has moved interoperability forward just in the last 6 to 8 months dramatically. And we'll dive into this later on in the show about how even given this, a 3-month reprieve has slowed some things up, which I know you guys did not want to do intentionally, but it has been, you had moved this market forward so fast on interoperability, and companies are making big changes inside of how they, share data, they implement APIs, they make their APIs more robust. So I just want to say thank you very much for all the work that you've done and all the work that you're going to continue to do. So I want to make that point because I'm grateful. And the industry is grateful. I promise you what's going on.
Well, thank you. I will tell you, we're really excited. We're really excited about what this rule brings to stakeholders and brings to the healthcare landscape. I always say we're all patients, right?
Yes,
we're all
we
patients, I have 2 children, my husband and I, we provide their care, whether you are the patient yourself or you're caring for, a parent or a child or a friend, we all have a touch point in the healthcare environment, and supporting the flow of information and so that it's in the right hands so patients can be part of their care continuum so that they are the center of their care is really critical. And you find everyone at ONC is just very mission driven towards those goals. So we're excited to say that, for you to say that. We will absolutely share that with the team because many of us have worked on that website.
Yeah. Well, and just what the rule does in general, it has moved our industry forward. We are grateful. I'm seeing the direct benefits, and I'm just excited to have more. So with that, Michael, why don't you lay out the interim final rule, what came out, I guess late in October, and then also what it means for us as an industry. So thank you.
Sure. So let me start by saying, the initial dates that we set in the final rule, which if you recall or your listeners recall, we intended to discuss and release at the HIMSS annual conference this year, but obviously that was canceled due to what everyone has been going through this year, this nation has been going through this year in this world, really, which is the COVID-19 pandemic. And, those initial dates before that happened were set based on a lot of consideration. The dates I'm talking about here are the applicability and compliance dates for information blocking and for the certification program. And they were, again, a result of a lot of consideration of the public comments that came in, the consideration of other responsibilities for regulated entities at the time, so other regulations that they were complying with, and also what would be the end time frame when we would have that environment where you would have ultimately an app economy, and giving everybody the appropriate time to implement, because you have various actors, and they're in some cases relying on other actors. So obviously, in getting that tech out there, providers are relying on the developers of certified health IT. So we had our date set, right? And it was actually November 2nd of this year was the date for the applicability of information blocking to begin for all parties that Elise mentioned earlier, the actors that are covered by information blocking. But back in early summer, we acknowledged the pandemic first through what was called enforcement discretion. So we gave 3 months to really, it was developers of certified health IT. Those who were participating in the certification program, which we administer and have authority over, we gave them 3 more months in which we said we weren't going to enforce any of these compliance deadlines that were set in the final rule under the certification program. But to actually move that November 2nd date, it required a rulemaking. And so we continued to monitor the pandemic. And as we all know right now, we're having a surge in cases and hospitalizations from the pandemic. So I think, I guess I'll say that I think we made the right decision, obviously, with this interim final rule, which was to move the date, right? The November 2nd date, and that date has now been moved to April 5th of 2021. So this should give actors more time to understand the rule. And to do that, we're actually embarking on a strong education campaign right now, trying to reach out to individual stakeholders. And I'm hoping, today will help reaching out to your listeners about the rule and, how it affects them. And then it was a balancing act as well in terms of because we know that this technology and this rule will help in terms of getting information that could help during this pandemic out. For example, the sharing of, vaccinations, lab results from testing to see if someone had COVID. But we also, had to weigh that against what the burden of treating patients that are coming in with COVID-19. So ultimately, we landed on that April date, and it's for compliance with information blocking. And there's a comment period that's open right now on the rule. While everything in the rule is final, I want to make that perfectly clear to your listeners. Compliance is there was a waiver of the effective date. Compliance began on the rules provisions were effective immediately. So while we're taking comment on it, everything in there may not change at all,
right?
Because it's a final rule. Then we moved all the dates also for the certification program. So where we enforced or exercised enforcement discretion, we moved a lot of the dates with compliance with those conditions of certification, that the behavior, so to speak, and the technical requirements that Elise mentioned earlier. So you have dates that align with the information, because there are specific conditions for developers in the program that they don't info block. So that aligns with the April 5th date. But then there are, real world testing. That's going to move out till the end of 2021. So that'll be the first submission of real world testing plans. So December of 2021. And then the API piece, right? So getting out certified APIs that have been tested and certified to the API, to the FHIR standard, that is and rolled out to their customers, developers. That has to be done by the end of 2022. And then last, the EHR export functionality, that is moved out to the end of 2023. And so that is, in a nutshell, why we did this rule. One was to obviously to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, and then I've kind of gone over to do that. We moved the compliance and applicability dates out further to give all our stakeholders more time to address this pandemic.
Yes. Anything you want to add on to that, Elise, before I make a comment here?
No, you have Mike here. Mike is our lead regulatory drafter. He is our lead reg writer. Yeah. So he has definitely provided a great capsule. I will say the one thing to check out, and I know, we've thrown out a lot of different terms here, from electronic health information to EHI export. There's a lot of different pieces to this rule, and that's because the charge that Congress gave us in terms of interoperability and information blocking really covered a number of different aspects of that landscape. But if you check out the website, and you've done a great job of helping me to kind of spread this call in terms of checking out the resources. We have a number of resources that focus on specific sections. So we recognize everyone does not draft rules every day. So if you are in practice, or if you're a patient, or wherever you are on the landscape, you can take a look at our website and see if there's a particular area of interest to you, and you can dig down from there. And then, of course, you can always submit questions to us. And as Mike said, we are really looking to share as much about the rule as we can with those in the health IT community and beyond. So you can always feel free to check out our website, and there's an area where you can ask us to come and speak to your stakeholders or speak to your group, and we are happy to talk about the rule.
Yeah, and I will say you guys are amazing from a standpoint of responding to comments. And so obviously you present great information, but also every time I've needed to, back when I was in the industry, more so on the public policy side, you guys were great work, to work with, but then also just taking information. And when we had questions and submitted questions, you guys were always great in responding, and also reviewing all the comments. It's one thing people don't understand or believe is that you guys actually read every single comment. So I think it's very important. Yes, you do. And I want to make sure that word gets out there, because people feel, it's government, or they don't have time, or they don't take my opinion into account. And I promise you they do. And I do a lot of public speaking on this aspect, because I want everybody engaged. It is their government, it's their healthcare, and what they believe, is their belief. And let's share that and read these rules. And they're very simply written. Not everybody reads them every single day, for sure, and understands how these are composed, but they're very simple to understand. We do use, there's complex terms in here, but again, it's very simple to understand after a while. But do comment, do share your ideas and thoughts in real life scenarios with the ONC and in other government agencies as well, because they do want to hear from you, and they do read your comments and take them into account. So,
absolutely, and I'll tell you, it helps us to make better policy when we put out a notice of proposed rulemaking, right? And we are asking for folks to tell us what you think about it. We want to know what you like about it, as well as what you don't like about it. And that helps us so that by the time we get to that final rule, and by the time we're releasing the policy, that we've really had an opportunity to consider everyone's views and where they are in the stakeholder community. We want the policy to work when it's on the ground. And the best way to do that is to get feedback.
And I do want to say that when you guys issued this IFR, I think I was on a conference call the very next day with one of the big actors in the industry, and they took this I guess now it's 4 months or so reprieve into account. And so it's, they're watching, they were excited to see it. I, on the other hand, I'm the receiver. I want those APIs robust. I want data flowing to patients. I want data flowing to providers. I want the best care, really, because what your rule does, it ensures the right information securely gets to the right person at the right time. And that's what we're enabling here with all this great API-based and FHIR-based interoperability. And we want to continue on. So I wanted to, obviously have you guys on air. I want to talk about the IFR, but let's also, let's keep the charge, because this is all about the patients. It's about the providers. And we certainly want to do what's best for health IT developers at the same time. But let's just make sure we keep data flowing, because we all benefit greatly. Let's talk a little bit about, do you guys, anything else on the IFR that you want to cover, Michael or Elise, before I ask you a question just around the health IT plan that we have, the Federal Health IT Strategic Plan?
Well, I'll just say that, you guys are having such a great discussion about, comments, and we do read them all, and I can give you examples ad nauseum about, for example, on the IP, intellectual property. The comments that we got, they're very legal comments even, and pointing to Supreme Court cases and so forth. And we even reached out to some of those commenters. But the point I really wanted to make is this interim final rule, comment period goes to January 4th. So if you want to submit comments on this actual rule, you can do so. You go to regulations.gov. And if you need to find it, you can actually start at our website, and that'll link you to the rule on regulations.gov, and you can submit your comments there. So just wanted to put that plug in about commenting.
Yep, excellent. So two quick topics. We've got about 4 minutes or so left here. But the final 2020 to 2025 Federal Health IT Strategic Plan was just released. Anything you guys want to say to that? What was the goal for that? And I think it's just good, just maybe 1 minute background for the industry and what they can expect from that and why they should read it and understand it.
Absolutely. Another great plug for our website. You can check it out there. We've done a webinar on it, and we have the webinar audio as well as the slides are also available online. So the Federal Health IT Strategic Plan, this is the 2020-2025 iteration of it, and we've had previous iterations, of course, as well. Mm-hmm. This plan was developed with 25 other federal organizations. We really came together because it's not just ONC in terms of the health IT landscape. There's many different federal stakeholders who are interested in, involved in leading pieces of the health IT landscape or continuum, whether it's working with patients or, working with providers, developers, clinics across the landscape. So between all of us, the federal organizations that put this together, we really wanted to focus on thinking about what are the principles we want to support. So putting individuals first, thinking about research and focusing on value, innovation, competition, and really being thinking about the culture of secure access to health information. And with that in mind, we came up with 4 goals that frame out the strategic plan. The first one is promoting health and wellness. The second is enhancing the delivery and experience of care. The third is building a secure, data-driven ecosystem to accelerate research and innovation. And then the fourth is really connecting healthcare with health data. And across all of these, there's really a focus on how are we going to move forward as the federal organizations. But it's not just a plan for us. It is what we will be looking to kind of build towards and implement against as the federal government. But it's also, we want stakeholders to be aware of where federal interests are, where we are thinking about placing our resources and our policies to support health IT. So thinking about the plan in that environment is really important, not just looking at it in terms of what the federal government is going to be doing under it, but what you as a stakeholder in the community should be aware of, as well as what you can participate in and be involved in. So that's a little bit in terms of the plan overall.
Yeah, I love it. Anything you want to add to that, Michael, before I jump in there?
Nope, go right ahead.
Okay. No, I mean, I was actually part of the first plan under when Dr. Brailer and I think Tommy Thompson even in Bush were actually part. This is back in 2004. We actually had a hearing and I testified and was helped create that initially. So I remember when the very first plan came out. But it is a great way to really as a private, as a private company and as a leader, a thought leader in the industry, or even as a physician and even as a patient, to read it, to understand your position and how you can support it and how you can glide alongside it. And then obviously there's a lot of points for intersection. I found the federal government to be phenomenal partner to collaborate with, whether it's the ONC or even Congress or even the White House or whomever it is, administration. There's so many touch points, but to understand what the plan is. And so again, you don't as a company or as a physician, I don't think you want to run counterproductive to it. You really want to work in sync with it. And then where there is significant rub, then you make your public comments be heard, and it works. And again, I believe in what the federal government's doing in a lot of ways here. But I mean, it's just really important to understand it. And then again, for all the innovators, I have a huge segment, not only in healthcare, but also innovators listen to this show. And to understand what the largest payer in the world is doing is very important for your business and for your strategy, for your corporate strategy in a lot of ways. And again, if there's significant issues or you have better ways or great innovations, let the government know, let the federal government know, let these policymakers know there could be something that can be leveraged. Because again, this is a public-private partnership in every way. And so I think, that's why I want to talk about it and bring it up here as well.
Absolutely. And, one thing I will add is that when we're putting together this plan, we really focused on it being outcomes driven. So you'll see that throughout the plan, but you'll also see it in our next steps. So once we've released the plan is out there. It's what we are working towards and through as the federal government. But you're also going to be hearing about our thinking on the plan and everything from measures to actions that we'll be taking. And some of that you'll hear through our work with our Health Information Technology Advisory Committee, where we talked to them about this as well as the last meeting and shared with them what our thinking was. But you're also going to see it through our annual report. We do have an annual report to Congress, and we'll be reporting on the progress regarding the plan in that report as well. So more to come.
Excellent. Exciting. Well, that was a great way to close it out because we're actually at time. So Michael and Elise, thank you so much. And your team and Peter and all that you guys do on a daily basis for this country. We're grateful for all that you do. And please know that.
It is absolutely our pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting us.
You got it.
Yes, thank you.
You got it. All right. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And please tune in weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific to hear our latest shows. As always, you can track me on Twitter at HIT Advisor and use the hashtag ThisJustinRadio so you can respond to your comments from the show. If you miss any of this episode or want to hear more, all the shows are posted on Apple iTunes, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. And also, you can check out the website, justinbarnes.com, that we launched with all of our latest updates as well. Thanks, everyone. Have a terrific week and stay safe.